Feels good to be back. It's a hell of an exercise, I said it before, to be in front of the camera. It's a challenge for any actor anywhere. And just to come here and just lose up, feels like you're taking a shower, you're going for a walk. Like my queen, Elizabeth Kemp, used to say, everything is in your breathing and how you relax yourself, how you feel it, but you need to be relaxed. So that's the challenge. Every time I come here, I have to block everything out and just be in the moment. And it sounds easy, but it's not that easy when you're dealing with so many things taking place in the space. But I'm honored today. I have a very special human being, an actor that I look up to, Shashwat. I got his name right. We made through Elizabeth Kemp. Number one, I wanted to say on the record, and I'm not exaggerating because what you see and what you get with me. He's a hell of an actor, a hell of an artist, a man who loves the craft deeply. We met through Elizabeth Kemp. We lost Elizabeth Kemp not too long ago. One of the greatest acting teachers of all time, a master of the craft, a woman that I love deeply in my heart. And Sash came to my life, I came to his life with Elizabeth's loss.
Yes.
And we're here to talk about his work, his craft, his talent, and of course, Elizabeth Kemp. So
Yes.
Thank you for making the time, babe.
No, thank you for having me. No, for real, because meeting you's been like a light, you know. Thanks to Elizabeth, we in the last 2 months actually have met so many beautiful people from around the world. It's amazing the effect she had on all of us. We all had a one-on-one personal connection with her that makes us family today. That's how I feel about it.
This is, for people who know Elizabeth, there's a lot of people who know Elizabeth,
Yeah.
of course, the Actors Studio, God help me, Pace University, all the incredible work that Pace University, the School of Acting, all the actors, teachers, members of the Actors Studio, not members of the Actors Studio, all the acting community who know Elizabeth, and the ones who don't know Elizabeth, they will know her now because she's just, her legacy is what's going to live forever. And Sasha is a very passionate actor. I experienced his energy in a circle when we were honoring Kemp right at the Trinity Church, the Hooligans. But the first one that we met was with Fiona.
Yeah.
Remember, in the park?
Yes, very well.
And we brought the love, we brought the green light that day, but then Trinity Church. But then it's been very overwhelming for me to see not only the pain but the love that you have for Kemp. Sash, it's very, it's pure,
It is.
right?
It is. What Elizabeth did for me was very meaningful. I mean, it was like probably the most meaningful thing in my life because it gave me a purpose. I am here because of her. You know, back in 2013, I was going through a lot. My parents, I was still on taking help from my parents, and I was recovering from a heartbreak. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd done like sales, HR, IT, journalism, public relations, retail, clothing, cinema, a lot of different stuff. And I'd had my own company as well. I'd run my own business as well, an art house, but all of that seemed to like not lead to anything. Nothing that I wanted to do, you know? I had education, I had a master's and everything, but all of it seemed so meaningless. Mm-hmm. I didn't know why I was alive. I didn't know why I was doing anything I was doing. And I decided to become an actor because I was at this book signing. I was having a really bad day, so I looked up Time Out London. This is when I was traveling to London to see my mom. And I looked up this book signing and I went for it. I did not know who the author was. I still don't remember who it was, but he's a very celebrated author in England, I know that. And the way things happen is strange because I ended up buying the book at the signing and ended up having a chat with him, and he ended up signing the book for me and wrote, "Be lucky."
Lucky.
And I went home that night and I was wondering, what would it be, what would it mean to be lucky for me?
How beautiful.
And that night I went back to everything that I loved throughout my life. And you know, when we go through day-to-day life, not as artists, but as people working, we try not to remember the past that much. You know, people are like, forget about the past, forget about your childhood, let that go, work, practical, this, that, you know. But that day I went back to a memory, maybe for one of the rare times before I became an actor. Went back to this memory of growing up reading The Godfather and watching The Godfather and being called Mikey by my cousins and, you know, everyone else who knew about The Godfather in my little circle. And I was like, being lucky, that for me would probably mean that I'll be on a Martin Scorsese set someday, you know, as an actor.
How beautiful.
But it was still
powerful,
scary.
Sash.
It was still scary. And that's the day I found out about the actor studio. Because looking up The Godfather, looked up, you know, and the actor studio shows up on the internet. And I'm like, wow, and the actor studio drama school shows up. And I still forgot about it because it was too scary. It's not that, you know, life is not like you have a light bulb go off and you're like, I'm going to follow this into a romantic story. Never works out that way.
Doesn't work that way.
Right. So I forgot about it. I tried to apply to acting schools in India. I wasn't eligible for them. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to still go to like whatever I can get to learn as a director. Because I'm a poet. I was a poet and a film editor. And that's what made me, you know, want to go into film and telling stories.
I didn't know you were a poet. That is new.
Wow. Nah, yeah, that's where my journey started, really. Yeah, I went for a 3-month diploma crash course kind of thing in acting in India. And there my coaches were like, you should look into acting. And one guy shows up who I didn't like. You know, in my class, there are people you like, you don't. And he mentions the actor studio and Al Pacino. And I'm like, how does this guy know about it and I don't? How does that happen?
There's a little bit of a,
Yeah. So I go home and I look up the internet and I'm like, no, I know about this thing. This is the night I decided to become an actor. So it came back to me. I applied to audition. I applied to the actor studio in Guildhall. In the meanwhile, my life became, you know, a bigger mess. I was broke. I was on the streets living in my brother's servant, you know, that outhouse thing. I had an edit machine that was sitting on the floor because there was no furniture to keep it. And then I get this email saying, would you like to audition for the Actor Studio Drama School? And however I get the money and whatever, I end up in LA at the studio in LA auditioning for Elizabeth Kemp. Just her. And I do my scene, the scene goes however it goes, but then she like, Elizabeth, she walks out of the darkness and she says, I'm Elizabeth Kemp. And it was just such a meaningful conversation. Then she's like, would you like to work? I was like, of course, I would love to work. Please, nobody's ever put me to work, kind of a thing. Yeah. And then we start creating people I love, my ex, and my mom and people like that and places. And I'm doing this still in English. She goes, do you know any other language? I'm like, yeah, I know Hindi, She's like, speaking Hindi. And then the gates opened for me and I was like,
your eyes.
It was that day and I walked out of that audition. We had a great talk. She didn't tell me if I was in or not. She just said, it's been a pleasure meeting you and working with you. And I told her, you've given me the best day of my life so far. I'd never had a day like that. I'd never been in that place before. And I remember I'm standing on Hollywood Boulevard after my audition. I'm like, if I get into this place, I'm gonna give everything I have. Because that's the only thing I wanted. 2 days, I flew back to India, got there at 2 in the morning, 5 a.m. I was on the shoot, working, I was a cinematographer by then. The next night I get an email saying I'm in. And that was the beginning of this journey. And if it weren't just for Elizabeth, who connected with me and showed me the light, I wouldn't have understood a lot of stuff that I understand now and a lot of grateful things that have happened to me. Things I'm grateful for.
Do you remember the day by any chance, Sash?
Yeah, it was it was April 13th, 2013.
It's just the way that you describe Kemp coming out of introducing herself in such way. It's so easy to picture because that was her.
Right. And if you want
That's her, because she's still living.
Right. If you really like a little in that whole picture, if I complete it, it was like she walks out of the darkness, she goes, I'm Elizabeth Kemp, and I'm like, yeah, I've read about you. She goes, what have you read about me? And the shadow comes out. And I'm like,
that's my girl.
I'm like,
she was, yeah.
I'm like, I've read that you're the chair of the acting department at the Actor Studio Drama School. And then that shadow turned into light, and and then she was shining, and she was through that shine. I would like to say I was shining. And that shine will always stay, no matter what I do, no matter where I act or direct or write, whatever I do. That's a very special day for me.
Of course, it changed your life.
Yeah.
Was it after this moment, before that moment, after this moment? Now, the journey at Pace University.
Yeah.
Can we describe it a little bit of a breakdown? Your experience, your take, the kind of work material that you explore.
Yeah.
What kind of monologues or scenes you're assigned to.
Sure.
And your friends, your scene partners, a little bit of that,
Yeah.
so we can have a little bit of a better idea.
To really start this Pace University journey, when I got in, I did not know that the Actor Studio Drama School was in New York.
Okay.
I thought I was going to LA, because I auditioned in LA.
Okay.
And then when I find out that it's in New York, I'm like, I've never been to New York. I never cared about going to New York or anywhere. I'd lived in London, I'd moved back to India.
I love when you look at the camera too,
Okay.
by the way. Yeah, I like it very much.
Yeah, thank you. So what happens is I end up in New York. I get here at 7 in the morning and I was homeless because the girl I was subletting from wouldn't answer her phone. So I didn't know where to go. So I was at the airport till about 11 and then my amazing cab driver, decided to call her using his phone, gave me a full breakdown of the 5 boroughs of New York. He told me what New York City was on my way from the airport to Pace University because, again, but while I was in the cab, I did not know where to go. So I just decided to take a cab to Pace after 5 hours of waiting at the airport.
Right.
But all of that happened, and then when I started at Pace, there were these kids, you know, there were these people who'd been on Broadway as child actors, as...
Look at the camera, Sasha. I love it. Look
Okay.
at the camera number 2 when you're telling the story, because it's so good that I want you to look at the camera, please.
Okay, sure. So there's this thing, right? There are these people who've been on Broadway as child actors who are coming from families of, you know, filmmakers or artists and things like that. And there's me who's never done any of this before. And there are really smart people from places like, you know, Oxford and, you know, smart people. And I used to be this guy in classes who used to just sit there and, you know, say what he felt without knowing a lot of things. And that would cause a lot of fights, specifically in, or arguments, not fights, in modules like theater history and places like that where we'd study context and this and that. And I would be like, you know, I don't know, but it doesn't feel right, whatever anyone's saying, because to me it just feels honestly inhuman or whatever. And one of my teachers, Brian Reinhardt, really encouraged me to just keep expressing who I am. And at the same time, I had Jacqueline Knapp, who was nurturing me, opening me up into this compassionate being. She made me play Ganesh. Ganesh was the first character I ever played, God, you know. And she said herself that, you know, it doesn't always happen that we have someone who's compassionate and from the same culture as a character like Lord Ganesh. And we had a lot of fun with that, made some really good friends, you know, who will go on with me for life. You know, there are connections. If being in acting school, the cool thing is there are connections you make who just are familiar souls, you know. And no matter what they do, no matter what kind of work you do, you're just honest and you live with each other no matter how far.
And you're open, and the reason why I'm sorry I asked you to look at the camera, because sometimes I like to break whatever looks conventional.
Yeah.
Whatever we think that we have to do when we have a camera in front of us. Of course, you're talking to me, but it's exquisite what you're describing.
Yeah.
And why not having you just looking at the camera, giving us a story?
Right.
Jackie Knapp is a very sensitive woman. I mean, she has a high degree of sensitivity. I've seen her in session different times, moderating at the studio. I've seen a lot of people over the years moderating at the Actors Studio. And God, I mean, everybody who moderates there, they have a deep knowledge of the craft.
Right.
Correct? Who else you started
Jacqueline Knapp, Susan Aston.
Susan, who I love.
Susan Aston changed a lot of things because, again, coming from a very practical background, it was great to be in Miss Aston's class and just go ahead and work on the practicality of acting, script breakdown, beats, events. You know, everyone has their own process, but in that, what happens is we gather what we can from those processes and make our own toolbox. So Miss Aston's process was aligned with the practicality of things for me, to find really my comfort zone as someone who can afford to speak, who can afford to stand up and say, this is what I am. You know, that's what Miss Aston allowed me to do and helped me nurture. And then I got to Elizabeth in my final year. And that was a life-changing experience. I just realized I was a completely different person. I could really love people, and that was okay.
Listen to what you just said. I can really love people, and that was okay.
Yeah, because that's what Elizabeth nurtured. You know, it's not okay for a lot of people. Like, even when we were talking scenes, discussing scripts, people have like, oh, nobody would fall in love like that. Nobody would do this like that, you know?
What do we know, right?
What do we know?
What do we know?
What are we capable of? We won't find that out until we really see what we're capable of. And that's where she took me. I played 2 characters for her. The first one was, while in school, I played 2 characters for her. The first one was Pryor. And I was really scared of playing Pryor from Angels in America, because I'm not white.
What a play.
You know, I'm not, I mean, all the doubts that I had back then was I'm not white. I'm extremely, you know, kind of like on the masculinity side of my life, and you know that's who I am, and I may not be muscular or whatever, but I function
you're
from that.
muscular. You're every woman's dream.
Okay.
And I mean it.
Thank you.
You're a catch, baby. You're a
Thank you.
catch. I'm sorry if I interrupt. It's
Yeah,
my
but
style.
then she, working on Prior, took me to this place of the glow, the shine of being a star, and you know, Prior was a star, and the femininity of, you know, of accepting the sensitivity of the human soul, and the compassion, the nurturing spirit. All of that character carried was such a lesson, and Elizabeth made me understand those things. You know, an actor can miss out on things if they don't have life experience. Coaches like Elizabeth have life experience.
Right.
She told me stories of people dying in Hell's Kitchen during the epidemic. She brought the grandeur out of me. You know, I walked in 6-inch pencil heels and did my makeup for 3 hours, every rehearsal. You know, because that was a process. That was like putting on those clothes.
Right. That was needed, required.
And she wouldn't let me do it otherwise. One time I decided not to like put my costume on because I wasn't feeling too well, not shave, you know. And that day I'm on stage, I'm in rehearsal, you know, I'm doing my stuff, and she's like, where are your heels? I'm like, I didn't put them on. She's like, why aren't you doing makeup? I was like, I'm working on something else. She goes, listen, your character is dying of AIDS, and she's putting on makeup. What, you have fever? You know, she knew how to talk to actors really well,
knew.
but she also knew how to put us in our place. Because then, you know, I used to always go to school with a Manchester United jersey, because that's my other religion, you know. So that day she goes to me, I don't want you stepping on that stage unless you're ready to be an athlete who's out there to win. Give everything you have. Don't go step by step in things with me. Be ready to fall. You know, go in there, trust it. Otherwise, don't get on that stage. You haven't earned the right to get on that stage. And that day I realized what the stage really meant. You know, it's all the journey that we were talking about, how we learn as we grow. And people like Elizabeth, people like, you know, Miss Aston, then after Pace, I worked at the studio in LA, so people like Alan Miller, Barbara Bain, Stuart Pierce, who's from the Shakespeare's Globe, who's Mark Rylance's voice coach. He's an amazing coach and person. And these people have really helped me just understand why I want to act and from where. You know, why I do anything I do.
Something about you, Sash, that every time I see you, and we encounter several occasions, I had the privilege to get to know you a little better, but you're so in ease. Nothing about you is, you know, actors sometimes we can be a little guarded and we don't want to show much because it's hard to trust, because then we get heartbroken, and then life is messy.
Right.
As Kemp used to say, life is all about mess.
Yeah.
But you have an energy about you that is accessible and is pure, and you have no need to manipulate anything that is coming out of your being. I mean, you're so powerful. That's why, to me, you're such a powerful actor, because you have, there's no brick walls with you. You're naked.
Thank you. Thank you. That actually means a lot, because I think that's what acting's about.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to be on that stage and be naked.
Yeah.
You know?
Internally naked. We're not talking
Internally,
about
yeah.
exclusively. You know, internally.
I mean, I've actually physically also been naked on stage, but that's a separate thing.
That's a separate story. Don't blush. Now you're blushing. And
Well,
shame on
happens.
you. I have to bring this up.
Okay.
Yeah, we're now getting heavy, but you know me, I have to mix it up a little bit. We're talking about films because we're so passionate about the craft. And I said, okay, Shashwat, let's see how passionate we are about the craft. Have you seen Tootsie? And what was your answer?
No,
look at the
no, I
camera.
haven't.
Look at the camera.
I haven't.
You haven't seen
no.
Tootsie. You don't know what you're missing, man. That movie is all about timing, comedy,
Wow.
actors coming together.
Okay.
It's about an actor who can't get a job as an actor,
Uh-huh.
so he's got to dress himself as a woman to see if he can get casted.
Wow. I have to watch it.
Dustin Hoffman, he plays
Nice.
the guy.
Cool.
Who, Sidney Pollack, rest in peace, another great director. He plays his agent.
Okay.
So, you know, it's a whole relationship about.
Yeah. I'll check
Come
it
on.
out. I'll
you
check it out.
gotta check it
I will.
out.
I
Jessica
will.
Lange is in it. This the other guy who plays the boss. But anyway, it's
But
a
in my
scene.
defense, there's so much to watch that I've been watching, and I'm still
I mean, you're
catching
so-
up.
Because you're so young, baby. You still have a long, you know, you're still young.
And I grew up not watching anything. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, that-
growing up, I never watched a lot of English movies. I
But
barely
The
got.
Godfather, you did.
Godfather was a book that was handed to me.
Yeah,
For me, The
Mario
Godfather
Puzo.
started from a book. Yeah.
Right.
And that book, I've read it like 15 times.
Yeah, it's such
I-
a great book, right? And
I-
it's so close to the movie too.
Yeah, and I love the movie, one of my favorites, but I still feel the beginning of the book is so much more beautiful. If it, you know, the book starts with Johnny Fontaine and Rizzy's, the court case with the baker, and all of those talks about the Godfather that bring you to the Godfather, even though the movie has an amazing beginning with, you know, that guy talking about his daughter being raped.
Right.
But
right.
still, I'm like, we miss out. For me, I would like to see just in a cut what would happen if we talked about The Godfather before opening in The Godfather's office. Of course, it is
classic.
great work.
Sure.
You know, and I'm not sure if I created it, I could even create that. But it's just a couple of things that I want to see.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
He didn't want it to. They didn't want Pacino because back in the day he was not a big of a name
Right.
as it is now, and how he had to fight Coppola to get him in. And you see the whole backstory in Al Pacino. If you read his book Conversations with Al Pacino, he gives you a whole breakdown about how the casting process and how difficult for him was to just get into it, and animosity with actors. You know, when animosity is something that we feel very subtle, and it's energy that we feel it, we grasp it, we sense it, and it's just not very good.
Yeah,
Right, because it gets
we
in the
all,
way.
We all go through it. Like, we all go through it. I mean,
I hate that energy, man.
To going back,
hate it.
when I experienced it for the first time as an actor, I'd
Yes.
experienced it a lot, and you know, I kind of believe in having haters, to be honest,
Yeah,
because that's what keeps me humble.
right, right.
You know,
Right.
the more people hate me, the more I, you know, because that energy will affect everything I do. So the more people hate me, the more I will fuck up, but the stronger I'll become at the same
I
time.
love the word. Forget about the F word. We just keep saying what we're saying
Okay,
and doing
so
what
I
we're doing. But
can't
yeah,
say
the more
F
they
word?
hate you.
Can't say the F
Yeah,
word.
well, you just said it, but that's okay. Let me give you 5. Again, the mic is not going to go out. Yeah, and as you guys noticed, we're wearing green
Yeah.
because that was the color. That was,
And I
you know,
have
I wanted to
something.
thank everyone who, Matthias Sanders, who I love very much, Catherine, Lynn Kagan. You see, that's the problem, that when you mention names and you're forgetting some names and people get, so it's not about that. It's all about the love and the tribute that done to Kemp so beautifully.
Yeah.
Matthias, Catherine, Lynn, Anastasia, Loring, everybody who loved her, the Actors Studio, Ellen Burstyn giving the speech, and everybody, Jackie Knapp, who took care of that at the Actors Studio. She did run
Yeah,
the memorial
it was
there.
a beautiful memorial
It was
at the
beautiful, I
studio.
heard. I got, you know, I got the news that it was a beautiful tribute. So we want to obviously bring everybody's attention. There's a lot of actors that she touched
Yeah.
so deeply.
Yeah.
In Australia, in London, in Italy, Paris, Costa Rica. I'm here. Adriana, another girl, she went
Yeah.
to Pace University. I don't know
Yeah.
if you know Adriana.
I think so. I think I know who you're talking about.
She studied with Elizabeth, I guess, for a year, I think. So I want to bring all the love with all the actors and all the students who were there that
Right.
night, that day in
It
the
was a
Actors Studio as
beautiful,
well.
beautiful. I mean, what Elizabeth's done is like, I don't know any other person who's done that.
Yeah, I know.
You know, literally, there are people around the world who've been touched by her
Yeah.
and have found meaning and purpose, and they all feel like a part of her family.
Yeah.
Even the people who didn't like her, because we all have people like that, like we were just talking, but they were all still always in awe of her. You know, that's the thing. Like, you could have haters, but she walked like a queen.
Oh, she was a queen.
So the haters would have to like,
Sit down and say, okay.
take a seat.
Take a
You
seat,
know?
baby. She knew what she was talking. I have to say this on the record. I'm not a studio member, but I love the Actors Studio, and I love the actors at the Actors Studio. Okay. With that being said, I've been going to session to see the work over the years, and Elizabeth always brought my attention since day one, since we met. We connected so quickly. And I remember that I saw her, and she said something in session that I cannot recall what it was, but I recall who she was, because the energy and the input and what she said to the actor, because Kemp was not about herself. She knew how to address the actor's soul.
Right.
She had x-rays.
Yeah.
And she knew how to see you inside and out. And she was specific. It was not about her. It was about the work. And she was so accurate with the comments that immediately it caught my attention. And I said to myself, I got to meet this woman. I got to talk to her. I got to study with her. And then years after I studied with her and I became her student with the Hooligans. And she brought me in. But yeah, the ability to see beyond, like just to grab your soul and just go in.
Right.
That was her gift, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the gift she gave us. I think she gave it to a lot of us by really bringing our souls out. So now we speak to each other from our souls.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are aware of their own light.
No.
But thanks to her, we are.
Yeah. You know how delightful it's just to see you just talking about Kemp, talking about the craft on the camera. When you're looking at the camera, you're so relaxed. Not to mention that you're experts with all the chakras, all the energy.
Yeah.
You know
I work
yourself.
with those. I
Let's
work
talk a
with
little
them
bit
lot.
about that. Can we do that,
Sure.
please?
Yeah. So, what do we want to talk about, the chakras? Like, see, for me, acting, if we talk about acting, because that's where I apply all of this, acting does not begin from the body, from our actions. Acting begins from our aura. You know, and I've learned this through Stanislavski and Stewart and Elizabeth and all these coaches that have what they've taught me, and this is my understanding.
And
but
let's
acting,
not leave out Strasbourg, please.
yes.
How can we leave the man out?
Yes, I mean, I was a weird story about that. But anyway, you know, so it happens in the aura, you know, and the aura is kind of like the chakras that are in the body and the stuff that's outside the body. It's like a circle that I walk on stage or you walk on stage, and you don't have to say a line. You just breathe, and they know that something's going on with you. The audience knows, the audience feels the tension, and that's all your life energy, the creative energy and the stuff we talk about. And that's where, like, I work with keeping my chakras as open as I can, or just keep nurturing them to see what's beyond. Like, I don't even know if we really listen from our ears. Like, the sounds go through, but where do they hit? The visions go through our eyes, but when we close our eyes, we can still see things. You know, so where are we seeing? Where are we listening from? And all of that is my work in the awareness of the human body, which is the actor's instrument. Because that's how I'll, you know, keep finding more things I can do. Like even, you know, Javier Molina. You know,
Javier Molina, hell of an actor, too.
hell of an actor, amazing
Hell of an
director.
actor. God help me, that when he played the devil,
Yeah.
I was with my husband sitting in that crowd, and God knows I love the studio and all the members and all the actors. I'm always playing tribute to each one of them. But let me tell you, that devil, when he came out, that was something else too.
Right. So that's when we started, like, we kind of became friends around there. And that's where even he, you know, told me things about how to really go from up, you know, I don't want to say what he said, but what it meant to me was how to go from a positive place. Like, if I don't like someone, what do I like? What am I thinking? To think in that moment so that I can inspire.
Right.
my audience.
Right.
Instead of just recreating something. So if I'm inspiring, then it has to happen to me in the moment. It has to inspire me in the moment. So the more aware I am of my own self, and then I'll be more aware of my character, and I'll be able to inspire myself and my character, and the audience will hopefully get inspired.
You see,
That's
you don't
the
need me on
attempt.
this chair. Honestly, you do not. I can easily walk out because you're so entertaining. Honestly, you're so relaxed. And not only that, it's like listening to you is like listening to a master class, man. It's
Thank
very, oh yeah, and I'm not bluffing. I don't bluff.
I'd like to believe that it's true, and coming
It
from
is
you,
true. Well,
it
I
means
don't,
a
I don't
lot.
lie, and I'm
Yeah.
not very good on manipulating bullshit. I hate when people have those kind of like, I don't do any of that, okay? But you're pure, Sash. You're so fucking pure that the energy comes through so easily. You're so open.
Thank you.
It's just wonderful to watch you. Just listening to you is a treat.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we have to wrap it up. We have 2 minutes.
and I want to say thank you to you though, because you have also like inspired me and when you say you're over the top and stuff like that, it's
I am
but
nuts.
but
In
you,
the good nuts.
but
Good
you have
Chris.
but you know, if you saw it this way, that's for someone who got beat up for 17 years of his life, you know, didn't give himself the permission to stand up and even say what I wanted to say, even if I knew the answer in the room, to not even open my mouth, to just stop breathing and tighten up, to meet someone who's so free, who
Freedom is essential.
yeah, and I was learning that. I was trying to get there, but when I meet you, you know, when I look at someone like you and I talk to you, you're so there. You're so present with everything that's happening, and you're letting it affect you, and you're still owning it.
Thank you.
And that's something I'm learning.
We are learning.
And that's something that inspires everyone, I think.
Thank
So
you.
it's wonderful to talk to you, to be around you, and you
Yes,
know,
and we're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna continue. We're developing this documentary on Kemp.
Yeah.
It's heavy work. I tell you
Yes.
this much. Because
Yes.
it's work.
Yes.
Okay, but I want to honor Elizabeth in the best way we can, and we will continue.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to wrap it up before we go, and I'll let you go?
I just want to say thank you to you, and I want to say thank you to everyone that is involved in creating these wonderful things.
You see, how everything is so easy. That's how you go to a date?
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Yeah! Women are
'Cause-
so hard to handle.
Because that's why you can handle them.
Oh,
you don't have to worry about
man.
anything. You just.
Baby, I'm not a feminist. I'm sorry. I love women, but God help us all.
I think I'm a feminist, but I think I'm okay with just people being lovely.
Yes.
I think people are
I
lovely.
wish we can all be loving and love kisses and making love
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and watch Tootsie. You gotta.
I'm going to
you
watch
gotta
Tootsie.
Love
On that
your
note,
ass
yeah,
off, man.
that's a good one. I'm going to watch Tootsie.
Okay, so Susan, I want to thank Susan Finelli. Thank you
And
so
thank you,
much for
Sissy.
helping us out.
Yes.
Richard and the studios at M&N, New York City, John Castro, Charles Casano, my research consultant, Alex Del Romero, and all the people, Ronnie Bass, who's helping me with the editing process. I'm learning how to edit. I'm learning, I'm taking notes and reading, and just, I'm grateful. Thank you so much for watching.
And thank you, Elizabeth.
And thank you, Elizabeth Kemp. I love you with all my heart.
Yes.
I feel you so close, love. God bless each one of you. See you next week. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
It's a wrap.
Cool.
We got it.
Nice.
It was good.
Yeah, can we get a picture of this?